If a baby monster is called a Monstie, do we call baby humans humies? What, never speak to me or my child ever again! Ladies, gentlemen, and Monsties of all ages, you can play Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection right now if you weren't aware. Or at least, more accurately, you can play a specifically curated portion of the beginning of the game, because Capcom has released a demo, a trial version for Stories 3, announced at the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday, and when this happened, a lot of people thought that meant that the demo was only on Switch because it was a Nintendo Direct, so quick heads up that is not the case. Every platform that the game is going to be released on, the demo is now available for. And so today we are first going to go over any new reveals for Stories 3 as a game that came as a result of their slot in the Nintendo Direct itself. Then I just want to talk about the demo, what there is to do in it, and my first impressions now that I've actually been able to get my own hands on the game, with the slight caveat that I'm trying not to get too deep into it all quite yet, so I can still preserve a lot of my first experiences in this game for the proper playthrough on the channel that I'll be doing with Josh when the game releases. All that said, let's start with the new reveals for Stories 3, and the big ones are 2 new confirmed monsters, and they are quite some doozies. First, Malzeno. There was quite a lot of talk of Malzeno being a likely monster for the game, and especially a Monstie, because there was an elder dragon patterned egg that was spotted in early preview materials with red and white coloring, and a lot of people guessed that the most logical thing to be in that egg would of course then be Malzeno. Then Malzeno hair was included in one of the pre-order bonuses, and now we just have Malzeno just actually fully properly confirmed as the newest Elder Dragon to enter a Stories game from the trailer here. And what an incredible choice! I cannot wait to see how he's represented, and especially something like a kinship attack from him, as we're assuming that he will be a Monstie as well, of course. And there is one other monster that is an even bigger deal, sort of, because we didn't have any sort of inkling of its inclusion, and it's a pretty wild pull given it is another monster from Monster Hunter Wilds, Ajarakan, the big blast monkey, and I am very happy to see him here. He's a very fun choice to include, and we even see him doing an attack in a very cutscene type situation, looking absolutely fantastic. I will never get over how absolutely vibrant the Stories game aesthetic is, and it makes the monsters look even better in this game compared to the actual mainline series, in my opinion. Next up then, let's get into the demo itself. It is a locked off early section of the game, said to be the first 3 or 4 hours or so of the game's story, but there's a lot of open world to explore, even beyond what you actually get to from the story itself. You can only access certain areas though, seemingly quite far from the full game, I imagine, as far as the actual world you can explore as a result of the, the limited story that we have, and there is also a level cap of 10 for both you and your Monsties, which is quite low. But this is probably just so you don't get grossly overpowered by farming endlessly during the demo, because it's out like a month and a half before the actual game itself is, and because your progress will carry over from the demo into the full game when it releases. This means this isn't even just like for you to test out the mechanics, see what they're like a little bit. You get to full on start your journey. You get to play the beginning of the game early, anytime, any effort that you put into your character through the creator or to your party of Monsties through the various systems by actually playing the game. All that stuff will hold over and stick to the full game, with the only exceptions being that there is a limited Monstie capacity for now, so that you can't fill up your whole stables before the game comes out, and it's actually quite a small limit, being only 12 Monsties, which is less than I think there literally are able to get in the zones we have access to, and that's like your main party plus like 6 Monsties beyond that. And there's also a limit to trade points that you can collect, so you can't just stack up like infinite trade points to then use on full release as well. That said, within this, you essentially just get the entire start of the game, including combat and system tutorials, as well as the actual story itself for the start of the game, and I'll not be spoiling story in this video at all, as that is like the big thing that should be personally experienced in a game called Monster Hunter Stories. But to put it simply, it seems like we have either full access or nearly full access to an entire region of the world. We have the beginning sort of like opening chunk of the story, and we get to the point where we have unlocked all the major systems that we know about from the trailers and presentations that have been shown off so far, essentially outside of stuff like Rite of Channeling. But we do get a surprising variety of things like Monsties, and you can collect a lot of them considering that it's just a demo for the game. There's multiple feral monsters that you can fight, there's an invasive monster, and now that we actually get to personally experience those unique takes on monster fights, the actual variations and what they mean, seen, they're a lot more interesting than I imagined. Feral monsters are almost like ghostly versions of a monster with pale eyes, and they basically just have a more involved body part targeting requirement to actually manage them well compared to normal Monsties. And the invasive monsters seeming to have like these like secrets or tricks to actually taking them down that you have to work out by collecting tracks before you do them, which is quite a cool concept to see going on. And the whole point is to make them retreat as well. So it's a lot of like tracking and retreating, and I really like that. I think it's a lot more interesting than just full-on standard combat. Beyond that, pretty much the last thing that you unlock before the end of the demo is the habitat restoration system. This lets you release Monsties into areas that are not their natural habitat and raise their ecosystem rank, which not only lets you find stronger Monsties of that species, but also this is how you create dual element Monsties, like the color change system. Like, this is my Thunder Chatacabra, Throg. Yes, I love him dearly, and he will be my good friend for a very long time. You can also do things like get Dread Queen Rathian or Pink Rathian by restoring regular Rathian to a high rank herself. So there's a fair bit of potential depth with this system, and beyond the chunk of story that we have so far, this seems to be the main actual thing that we're going to be able to mess around with while continuing to play the demo past the story. Just sort of messing around with the element swapping Monsties and the ecosystem restoration, and getting different combinations to see what we actually like and what we want to take into the full game. As well, we have a couple of more intense challenges available to try out, and I'll be interested to see if anyone can overcome them. Specifically, I'm referring to the feral monsters that are not part of the story quests. The feral Palumu isn't bad at all, I got that one down super quickly, but the Nursilla, which you can actually check, it is level 24, so you have to beat a level 24 feral monster when you are locked to level 10 if you want to do this one during the demo, which is the requirement to unlock habitat restoration for this zone as well. And there is another feral monster that I don't even want to say what it is, so you can find it for yourself and be excited, but the other one is level 44, literally 44, so I would be absolutely blown away if someone manages to kill that within the constraints that the demo has. 24, that might be within the range of like good strategy and good luck tipping the balance, but level 44 is insanely high in comparison to current player limits in the demo. That said, one more sort of mechanical-ish thing to really note here is the weapons are fantastic in Stories 3. Sad note is that there does not seem to be sword and shield anymore, which means that it was just straight up removed as it was in Stories 2, unless we have some sort of like super special moment later on in the story where it like comes back or something. But based on current smithy menu, the weapons are greatsword, longsword, hammer, hunting horn, bow, and gun lance. That said, hammer is now the Wyvern Soul gauge focused weapon. Wyvern Soul essentially works like a representation of exhaust and flinches and topples. For the mainline game equivalent, it's all three of those things that are melded together. Breaking the Wyvern Soul gauge causes fatigue state on the monster, which makes them less accurate when hitting you, among other things. It flinches them out of their turn as well, and if you fully empty the monster's gauges, if it has multiple, you get a full topple, which lets you do a synchro rush for bonus damage and kinship gauge generation. Different monsters seem to have a different number of gauges required for this, but hammer is the weapon that damages this gauge with its regular attacks, whereas every other weapon only damages that gauge when using skills specifically. Hunting horn is the other one that I really adore the changes to. Not only do you have the skill-based song list that Hunting horn used to have, but now you actually play notes with your attacks themselves, the standard attacks, or you can make some of your skills be specific note colors on purpose, red, green, or blue note based on whether you do power, technical, or speed. And winning a head-to-head gets you a rainbow note, which counts as all three. Each horn has two inherent melodies that can only be played by queuing up these notes in this way, just like mainline Monster Hunter Hunting Horn plays. And then you have the Magnificent Trio skill, which then plays these stored notes and actually activates any of the songs that would activate as a result of that. For example, this horn, which I'm using here, and I think it's probably the best one we have access to in the demo, the 2-note song gives all allies sleep status buildup on normal attacks, so you can just get free sleeps on monsters, and the 4-note song restores 1 heart to both me and my ally, which is sort of a bonkers amount of value. Bonk. We do now, though, also have Longsword as, well, a fully new weapon in the game, and now that I've had my hands on it myself, it makes a lot of sense and feels pretty good. Normal attacks generate Spirit Gauge, then you enter Special Sheath mode to consume Spirit Gauge per turn for bonus effects. One of the versions of the Special Sheath makes it so that you get a free bonus attack after any ally hits, which is sort of like a ton of bonus damage. The other one seems to make it so that you auto counterattack incoming hits while in the stance, and the weapon seems flashy as all hell so far too. Beyond that, just a little bit of my thoughts on like the feel of the game in general. I am loving it as of this point, just a few hours in. I adore the graphic style of the game, of course, the super vibrant world, the monsters, the colors everywhere. But the big thing for me is the freedom of movement, the verticality of the open world, and things like endemic life being all over the place, and those things all work together to make it feel much more like an actual place that you are visiting, like a real location, as opposed to previous stories games where all of the locales were very flat and less populated. There might have been some verticality to it, but it was just various levels of flat ground, whereas this has like angled hills and stuff like that, and like it even has the same contextual movement on the players going like up and down hills that you have in Monster Hunter Wilds. Like, it just feels so much better fleshed out. It almost feels like the same jump that we had in map design from like old generation mainline games to Monster Hunter World, but the story spin-off equivalent of that leap. I don't want to get too into my full opinions, as this is a super limited slice of the game, and I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say when the game is fully released and we could talk about it in more detail. But for the moment, I am loving all of the changes that we have in the demo here. I am loving the new direction for the story compared to the previous two games, and the new systems like habitat restoration are really, really cool, and I love that people's maps are essentially going to end up looking totally different from each other by the end of the game. Maybe you're going to have chatacabra in every region because you want to spread the frog around the world, or maybe you're going to put plesioth everywhere because you want the world to suffer. The fact that you can literally control what monsters are where, you just make those choices yourself, it's just such a neat concept to me. And then beyond all of that, the gameplay feels really good, the voice acting feels really good, the game feels better than ever, and I'm saying that as someone who was pretty addicted to stories too for a while too after that game released. That just about does it for today, everyone. I'm going to keep playing the demo and exploring and such, so if you want a more detailed sort of like guide to places of interest or gear or monsters or events that you can encounter and stuff like that, then let me know in the comments down below and I'll see what I can whip up for you. But for now, this was just to let you know the demo exists. You can play it right now. I wanted to mention the new reveals we had alongside the announcement of the demo, and then to just talk about what is available inside of the demo and my thoughts on everything I've played so far. I hope you've all enjoyed this, and let me know your own thoughts in the comments down below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.